Summer of Lady Fox Stitches, and I am a long arm quilter. I live in rural Nevada, and I've been here quite some time. We raised our family in a small community. It's been a really, really lovely place to call home. Today I want to share with you some of the quilts that have come off the long arm recently. And I also want to share some of the projects that I am getting excited to make some progress on and get going on. So thanks for joining me. Let's get started. First up is this quilt here. This is a quilt that was made by my mom, and it is a memory quilt made from the shirts and handkerchiefs of my grandfather, who passed away about a year ago. He wore these snapped front button shirts that were long sleeve, and he wore them every day. So that's what all the plaid fabrics are from. So they're not a quilting cotton, they are a cotton poly blend in those shirts. It's pretty fun. She included, let me see if I can flip this around. She included some of the labels from his shirts. There's one there, and there's one right here, which is his most favorite brand right here. So that's a really fun inclusion. She warned me when she gave me this quilt that she had a little problem, a little challenge with the bias. Some of these triangles were cut on the bias and sewn that way. That's what the pattern called for. And so there was a little bit of wonkiness, or she was worried that there would be some wonkiness, some of that in the borders. So she gave me a heads up about that. It's fun that she picked this nice bright blue solid border that really pops these blue plaids out in the overall quilt. Yeah, if you look really carefully and closely at these triangles here with the handkerchief fabric, which is cool. This top one up here at the top, this green one here, was actually an army handkerchief. So that's fun that she included it in there. And you can really see that star pattern pop in that one. It's really cool. So with the fullness in the borders that she was a little concerned about, we went looking for a pantograph that would not only remind us of my grandfather, but also would help with that fullness. So the pantograph that we chose, you can see it there, is called Together. And it reminds me of tire tracks, like treads on a tire. My grandpa had a walnut orchard for some of his lifetime, during some of his lifetime, and he drove a tractor out there. So we thought that the tire treads would look kind of cool and remind us of him on his tractor. And with these curves and lines and stuff, there's enough coverage on it that we knew it would kind of take care of any of the fullness that we would run across. It could really naturally just kind of suck that up in there. So it would quilt up nicely, which it did. Worked out really good. The thread choice here is a Glide Cool Gray, which I think blends really nicely in with the plaids. And then on the back, it doesn't stand quite, it stands out. You can really see it on that nice mottled navy blue, but it's not quite as stark as like a cream or white would be. So that turned out really nice. We used the Poly Puff batting by Quilter's Dream, and that added a lot of loft and really defines, you can see how nice that quilting is, how it really pops without taking over the whole quilt. So that's pretty fabulous. I did want to share with you, if I can find it here, this. She added a quilt label that she just printed on like muslin from her laser printer, just right directly onto the muslin using the freezer paper method, and included that so we would know why this quilt was made and who it was made by and for what reason. So that's really cool. Cool quilt, love it. So we'll get this back to her where she can bind it up and get that all finished. It's gonna be a lovely quilt to remember my grandfather by. So that's the first one. Okay, second we have this fun one here. Okay, this quilt I actually made, and it's a pattern by Amber Johnson of Gigi's Thimble called Color Play. This was a pattern that was actually really pretty simple to make. It has these really, really nice, like diagonal kind of lines across the quilt. And I want to talk about the fabrics I chose. I really wanted, when I was deciding what to do and what fabrics to pull from my stash, I really wanted something that would be calming and relaxed kind of feeling. And so I went with kind of these like low volumes, right? Not really super bold prints here. Strings everywhere, of course. So that's why these fabrics were chosen. I wanted to give an overall feeling, but I needed some background. I wanted to have these solid ones. And so I went to my local quilt shop and I found a French General solid that I thought went really good with kind of that feeling. It's a green actually, but it looks green, but it's actually called something blue. And so I thought that was interesting because it actually really, next to these fabrics, looks on the green side. So the pantograph that I chose is called, Plus, let me see. The pantograph, let's see if I can find it. Oh, the pantograph is called Cross Stitched. So you can see those X's. You think I would know the name, huh? So you can see kind of these puffy crosses that just go right across the length of the quilt. I think it was a great addition, geometric without being too square. The whole quilt is out of these squares, right? So that was a great addition. The other thing, see, I chose the nice yellow, like floral print, large motif print for the back. And then I bound it in that same fabric. So on the back, it does just seamless right there. And then of course on the front, that yellow pops pretty good. So there's that. Let me see if I can pull it out here. So you can see that binding. Pull it up to the camera there. Oh, we're cutting it off. There you go. So there's that. This quilt was used with the thickest 100% cotton from Quilter's Dream. It's the Cotton Supreme, and it's really a really heavy batting. It's very like weighty, so that's kind of cool. I wanted it to be that like a weighted blanket would be, so it has that weight. When this gets washed, I have others in this same batting, and when it gets washed and used, it's going to crinkle up really nice and get really cozy and soft. So I'm really excited about that. This has not been washed yet. We'll get that in the wash soon. I do like to wash my quilts because I use my quilts. So they're meant to be drug around and used. So there's that one. Great pattern by Amber Johnson of Gigi's Thimble. The thread on this one is the color, it's Glide, and it's the color Linen. And that is just a most wonderful all-purpose color thread, if you ask me. It goes so well with so many quilts. So you'll see that I use that particular thread a lot. Stitched out really nice. It was a great pantograph. That pantograph is actually by Jess of the Longarm League. So really great. That's that one. All right, the third quilt I have here today was actually one that came, the pattern and the fabrics came in the Cupid box from Fat Quarter Shop back in February. So that's what this one is. I think this block right here, this cute heart, it's like a chocolate box with a bow on it. I think that is just the cutest block in the whole wide world. I think it's just so stinking cute. There's another one, and there's one on the bottom here. So it's not a very big quilt, This quilt only measures something like 40 by 48. And the batting in this one is a 80/20 quilter's dream. The fabric that came in that Cupid box, it's called Love Blooms. It's a Lella Boutique fabric. The pantograph is one by, it came from Quilting with Mindy, and it's called Blossom, let's see, Sweet Blossom. And it's just this single, like, let's see if I can find one that you can even see good. It's like a single stem flower with leaves that goes up this way, and it has a little flower here. And it just repeats that same motif over and over across the quilt. It's really cute. Funny story with this quilt, I had it all cut out, I was sewing it, caught to the borders, and I went to attach the borders to the main part of the quilt, and it didn't fit, and I was so confused. So I went back to the pattern. I was like, no, I'm doing it right. Went back to the thing, like, it absolutely doesn't fit. What went wrong? There must be a problem with the pattern, is what I thought, which is so silly. But as I got looking, I realized that I was supposed to have cut these squares here, something like 4.5 inches square, but I had cut them at 4 inches or something, you know, I cut them short. And so I had to kind of patch and make do with the border. You can't tell, like, no one would know except somebody who made it right, the correct way. So I think that's pretty funny. The fabric on the back that I put on there is this cute strawberry print. Look how cute that is. Isn't that adorable? I had this in my stash left over from a quilt I made my granddaughter about 3 years or so ago. And this was just leftover, and it fit. I had just the right amount. So I thought that was excellent. And it matches that fabric on the front so well. So that was a great find. And I did the binding on this one with just something I had in my stash. And of course I attached it by machine because I don't do handwork. I do machine binding. It's just a little wall hanging size, but it's really cute. So I'm glad I got that done and finished. So that's ready to go. Okay, the next and the final quilt I have to share today is this one. It's really, really fun quilt here. Isn't that awesome? So there's like a big, giant floral motif, and there's a big square quilt. I found this quilt in it was a kit, and I found it in a quilt shop when I went to Utah to visit some family, and they had their sample up on the wall, and I immediately was just like taken by it. I loved it. It's very bold. It's very primary color-ish, which is very unusual for me. At least I think it is. But it really struck me, and I thought, I gotta make that. It's so cool. So I happened to have a coupon, or they had a sale or something about 25 or 20% off their kits. So I picked it up. Let me hold it up here for you. Isn't that awesome? So there's 5 big flowers. It's so awesome. My chair's in the way. So every piece or every block has a curve. They're very, I guess not every one, because these corner ones on the leaves, oops, this way. Corner ones on the leaves are square, but really everything has a curve in it. Every flower petal, centers of every flower. It's so cute. Oh my gosh. So pretty fun. So this was called Posie Patch, and the fabric that came with it was also by the author of the pattern. So the designer of the fabric wrote the pattern to go with this great fabric. So that's really fun. This quilt has 80/20 in it. Cotton poly batting from Quilter's Dream. It's the select level, so it's just the middle of the road thickness here. And this pantograph, it's pretty fun story here with this pantograph. Let me hold it up here where you can see it good. Maybe. Can you see that? If I hold it still, you might could. So I was at QuiltCon and I went to, it's OESD, their booth, and they had pantographs, like, I don't know, buy 3, get 1 free or something. And so I thought I would purchase some new ones. And I was looking at their board at the different choices. There was this one. I thought, oh, that's a really fun, modern pantograph. Maybe I'll get that one. And they told me it was one of their newer ones at the time. And the name of it was called Burners. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, because I live in northern Nevada where we have an event not too far from here, but it's called Burning Man. And we call people who go to Burning Man, we call them burners. And so all I could think was these Burning Man burners when they were calling this pantograph burners. And as I was trying to explain, oh, that's fun, she was like, no, really, like burners on a stove. And so, yes, it finally dawned on me that they're talking about burners on a stove, like the coils, you know? So I thought that was pretty funny, that all I could think was Burning Man burners, and they were like, no, kitchen stove burners. So we did that. I thought this was a great choice for this quilt with all the curves. It's pretty dense quilting. I actually enlarged it quite a bit. So the spacing between the different rings and stuff is just over a ½ inch. So it's pretty dense, but as you can see, it's not super stiff. It's just fine. And I did it in a military gold color, mostly to kind of, I don't know, because of the centers of each flower. And I had just come home from QuiltCon when I was like starting to make this and stuff. And a lot of their quilts there have colored thread. And a lot of it's like bright yellow or like a chartreuse color. So I saw a lot of quilts with bright yellow thread. And this one happened to be what I had in my drawer. And it matched the yellow in the fabric. So that's why I chose that thread. Very fun. And check out the back. So I pieced the back. So you can see there's a bunch of different bright fabrics. Oops, wrong end. Camera's backwards than what I'm used to. So just some different like fat quarters I had that I just threw all together. We've got some cafe in there. We've got this really fabulous floral down the middle. And then, of course, this incredible cheater print. Oh, I think it's so pretty. And I think it's perfect for this quilt. Okay, one more time. I'll fold that up. It's not a very good angle, but really great. Beautiful, beautiful quilt. Fun thing about this, the kit came with the fabric for the binding. And I want to say it was like red or something, one of these red fabrics. But I decided I would go with Corey Yoder's 1/4 inch black and white stripe. And I did that because I think it gives off like Mary Inglebright vibes, if you know who that is. So I thought that was a fun little choice. So that's why the stripe binding. I wanted it to be a little bit playful. Gosh, strings everywhere. So that's a fun quilt, fun make. Posie patch is the pattern. It came, you could buy the template for the curve, but I decided I didn't need to do that. In fact, I thought I had like a drunkard's path ruler that was the right size, thought it would work. And it didn't work. But they had templates, like you could trace the template, make your own from the pattern. And that's what I ended up doing. I just traced it onto like a plastic template like material and use that. So it totally worked. Yes, it would have been handy to have a, you know, rule. What do you call those? Like template rulers that you could purchase separately, but I chose not to do that. I just went for it. Curves were fun. This one was a little trickier. I had to slow down and like actually like do those curves, but it wasn't hard. It wasn't difficult. And by the time you do this many, you get used to doing them and it works out. Are they perfect? No, but they're pretty close. They're pretty awesome. And it looks great. No one's gonna pick this one apart for sure. No one's gonna be like, you did that wrong. No, it's great. So cute. So there's that. Okay, so that's all the quilts I have for this week that have been finished and ready to go. But I wanted to share a couple things I have ready and waiting for me. So I have this cute pattern here. This is a Cluck Cluck sew pattern. It's called Chickens, obviously. It's so cute. So story, my husband about a year ago, well, a little over a year ago, told me he wanted to get some chickens. And I was like, I don't want chickens. I don't want to have to take care of them. He said, you won't have to take care of them. It'll be fine. I said, well, if you put chickens out there in the backyard, I don't want to be looking at something messy and ugly and stinky out in my backyard. So he promised me that he would build a coop that was really cute and super fun to look at, which he did. So he was able to get his chickens, and I didn't think I would enjoy them as much as I do. I go out there and they are the funniest little creatures, and I have really enjoyed having them around. So I had to go for this pattern. I'm not making it with these fabrics. I actually bought a kit at QuiltCon, and it's going to be these fabrics. And these fabrics are by Little House Cotton. Little House Cotton Fabrics. So I'm very excited about that. They have kind of a, I want to call it a 70s vibe. Kind of reminds me of my childhood. So they're all starched and waiting for me to get that cut out so I can get going on that. It's had to be set aside for a little bit because I had to put together some costumes for a local production of Pump Boys and Dinettes. And that's just a little play. It's actually really cool with live music on the stage. My daughter happens to be one of the waitresses, one of the dinettes, and so I put together some costumes. Once in a while for my community theater, the theater around here, I do that. I am their costumer, which is a really big job sometimes. This time it wasn't too bad. The cast is very small. So we got that done, and now I can get back to my quilting. So that's next to cut out. And I think once I get it cut out, I'll be able to sit down and get that done pretty quickly with some chain piecing. The other thing that I've got on the cutting table, and I've almost got it all ready and cut out, is the Oxbow tote. I picked up a kit at QuiltCon. I'm determined to get all my kits made. I don't usually buy kits, but it sounds like I do. But I did buy a kit that came with the webbing and the outer fabric and the liner fabric at QuiltCon this year, and so I want to get that made. I've got my pieces all cut out except the front, like the two front panels, or two outside panels, I should say. And I've got to get those quilted before I cut them out. So I've got the foam stuff and the fabric ready to go. I just got to get out the machine and quilt it up. I'm going to do it on my, I think I'm going to do it on my Juki. Get that. I'm just going to do a little straight line quilting. It's not too bad. So I've got that, but everything else is cut out. Look, check out this cute fabric. So the fabric that it's going to be made out of, this is the main fabric, is this paper, let's see, Rifle Paper Company. It's like canvasy kind of. Isn't that cute? It's so pretty. So that's the outside. It's the main fabric. And then to go with it is this cute gingham. That's the lining fabric. So that'll line all the pockets and the inside of the tote. And then there's an accent fabric, and it's just a black, like, I want to call, it's almost like a waxed canvas. I'm not sure if it is, but it's pretty hefty, and it feels like kind of waxy to me. I don't know if it is though, for sure. But that is the bottom of the tote, and there's an outside, like, little pocket thing that will go with that, and it has black webbing to go with it. So I think that's so cute. So that's all cut out and waiting for me to get going on. So I think that's pretty exciting. Okay, obviously I'm pretty new to YouTube. This is my very first video. I've got lots of ums and lots of things that you're gonna be like, who's your editor? Well, it's me. But I'm excited to be here to share with you what I have going on in my quilting room. As you can see, I sew on a Bernina Q24. I have Q-matic, so that's really exciting. I love my machine. It is so much fun. Sometimes I think you can't just stand here and stare at it all the time. Get some other things done. I don't want to walk way too far, but perhaps I could cut something out or sew something at the sewing machine just across the room. But it's pretty mesmerizing. I love to stand and watch my Bernina. So there's that. Also, you can kind of see, oh, you can't really see. Let's see, which way is it? Right up here. Right there. I'm working on the Callie & Co. 2025 Mystery Block of the Month by Corey Yoder. So I've got my blocks all caught up. I've got a quilt right here. It's like a math quilt that is ready to get on the long arm. So I'm gonna load that as soon as we're done here. So that's pretty fun. So thank you so much for joining me. Please like and subscribe my brand new channel. Invite your friends, share it with them. That will be super, super helpful. And as I promise, as I practice and make these videos, we'll get better and cleaner and smoother. And maybe I won't wiggle around that fabric so much for you. So check the box to subscribe. That will be awesome. And the next thing I'd like to do is invite you to my website. I am a long arm quilter, so if you need long arm quilting services, you can check out my website to see what services I offer and see if we're a good fit for each other. That's ladyfoxstitches.com, and you can learn more about me and see what I'm up to over there. So there's that. Keep stitching and doing all your favorite quilty things, and we will see you next time. Thanks.